Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Tarter Sauce. I'm Steve Tarter, there at the Journal-Star in Peoria, Illinois. With me today, Don Johnson, President and CEO of Goodwill. I want to say Goodwill Industries, but that's gone by the boards, hasn't it?
No, actually, our official name is Goodwill Industries of Central Illinois.
Oh, that hasn't gone by the boards. So I see Goodwill a lot, and that's the emphasis. But you've got several things coming up this week that are just indicative of Goodwill's involvement on the veteran with the veteran community. Tomorrow, you've got the Goodwill's Reception of Honor at your Goodwill Commons, just down the hill from the Journal-Star. And on Saturday, it's the 10th annual stand down for homeless veterans over at Dozer Park in downtown Peoria. Don, how did this attachment with the veterans come about? Is that long-standing?
Yeah, been long-standing. You know, we got involved in veterans probably about 15 years ago with our old leadership, particularly a guy named Bill Bontemps and Patty Fox. They decided of the nonprofit arm of Goodwill was to get involved in veterans. So we built and own a veterans home on Olive Street in South End of Peoria, beautiful building. Mm-hmm. We've since done an addition onto that a couple of years ago. So we have 15 guys that live with us full-time, that if they didn't live with us, they'd be homeless and on the street. So that was our involvement. Was probably 15 plus years ago to build the home and to get involved that way. And since it's grown into veteran services, and now with the awards, the reception of honor tomorrow night, where we will give out 5 awards tomorrow night, Steve. And one is for a business that supports veterans in numerous ways. We have 2 active military awards we'll give away. And we'll give away an award where a person that served in the military is no longer serving that does things for those in the community with veterans. And then the combination of that is the Downing Award we give tomorrow night to one of those 4 award winners. So one award winner, believe it or not, will walk away with 2 awards.
All right. And you've done this, 5 years? Is this the 5th year?
The reception of honor is now in the 5th year. And we had a committee with Robbie Robertson, Chief McMullen, and a lot of our staff, a couple of our board members, and we had a lot of really good names and amazing work that people do, not just Goodwill with veterans, but the veterans get help in many different ways throughout the community, and it's really eye-opening when you look at the committee and look at the names we get. You think over 5 years that the names would diminish. No, they just keep getting stronger.
Really?
And that's good to see in Central Illinois.
Now, on Saturday, you've got the 10th annual, and this is, you need the whole ballpark for this one. This is stand down for homeless veterans again. What goes on there?
We do. We actually need the prior day at Dozer to set up. It takes us the entire day to set up. We will actually feed 500 people. We'll have 200 plus homeless veterans from our whole region come, and we will register them. We want to know who they are. We do data tracking on that, and then we do food. We do coats, hats, gloves. I mean, you name it. Goodwill is committed to giving well over $24,000 worth of new goods that we go out and purchase. So we seek sponsorship, we seek grants, we commit as Goodwill of putting money into it, and it's our commitment to veterans. And it's heartwarming because we have educational classes, seminars, and for a lot of these guys, it's the only boots they'll get for the whole year, and they'll wear them all year. And we're very proud to be part of that. If you understand the homeless population, we work in that with a continuum of care here locally, but our commitment payback is huge. It starts at 10 a.m. officially, and we'll run to about 1 o'clock, and it'll be full tilt. We have 250 volunteers for the event that help hand out, coordinate, and do a lot of things. And for those veterans that need more clothing and support, we actually have donations that we've got in through the system that we keep out of our stores that people say, I want to donate, but not to the stores and our retail, which everybody knows us for, but they donate.
They can designate.
They designate, and so we'll have racks and racks of sweatshirts and long sleeve flannels and a lot of those things too is our commitment. So it's a big event for us for a financial commitment, but it's also the volunteer groups come from all over. They come from Caterpillar, Humana, OSF, some of the hotels, downtown Rotary. To get 250 volunteers.
I was going to say, that's huge.
It makes it a unique event. And that's not counting, Steve, all the volunteers that have helped us for the last 4 months. Sift through things down at Goodwill Commons to get things ready to be shipped out. That takes a whole army. And you know what? How it works with us is Monday, Jana Wagner, if I didn't say that name, she's like the queen of stand down. And those that know her, she wears it, she does it, she starts every day bright and early, and she brings it. But Monday, she'll start on next year.
Is that right?
That's how big of an event it is. And to see her work and work with our veterans crew, it's amazing to see. Gives the people in the community a heart-warming feeling to know that Goodwill steps up, Goodwill leads, and Goodwill does that. We're not just known for retail and clothing. All that helps drive the things we can do. So please donate. But this is a big special week for us with reception tomorrow night and stand down at Dozer Park. Yeah.
What Don? We're talking with Don Johnson, who heads up the Goodwill here in the Peoria area, and we should mention Goodwill covers how many locations do you have now in the Central Illinois?
Boy, we have 18 buildings.
18.
I always say we have 12 stores, 11 retail stores, and one online called Shop Goodwill. Steve, you and I talked last time we met about the Randsburg pottery back in February, and that all went real quick, and it all went on Shop Goodwill. If you just go to shopgoodwill.com, you'll see products there that we move in and out every day that are more unique. But we always say 12 stores. We actually have 18 buildings. We have a warehouse right down the hill from you that we use for stand down. We actually call that John's warehouse. And then the big warehouse for retail is actually over at the rail yards of East Peoria.
Right. I've been over there, and I'll tell you, that is an impressive sight because we know how much, clothing comes into Goodwill. I mean, people are very generous. You see that firsthand. When I see those big, I don't know what you call them, big containers of, I guess this is where it goes overseas after if it's not going to be sold here.
Several language pieces that we know is the boxes they go on. We can stack their special boxes called Gaylords. And then what you're talking about is we bale the clothes. People don't understand if it has a rip or torn, we still want it because some of that goes in the carpet fibers and so on. But actually some of the clothing that doesn't make it on the floor that's still good enough to wear it gets shipped overseas and to third world countries. I always say one of the things that unique for us is probably some of our shoes last year, the second, third class shoes we have, some of that probably went to Puerto Rico after the hurricane.
Sure.
Because tornadoes, fires, people come out and climb out of the basements and stuff without any shoes.
Right.
I saw that in Washington a couple of years ago where my wife and I live. And
after the tornado?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So recycle, repurpose, reuse, there is a market for it, there's meaning to it, and there's a need for it, but also keeping the stuff out of landfill.
Don, one of the things I know you mentioned it going back 15 years, association with helping veterans and working with veterans, and I know a lot of people aren't aware of how much job placement you guys do, not just with veterans, but everybody in the community. Has that been growing, or has that always been there? I guess I should find out that. It's
grown for us. I think we were positioned well a couple of years ago. We had a lot of philosophical discussions in whiteboard planning, and we've always done employment services for veterans and know those companies that work with veterans. But we came in and said, for those people walking in Goodwill Commons or anywhere to our system said, I need help. And we'd say, well, you're a veteran or not. And if they say, well, I'm not a veteran, we just couldn't say, I can't help you.
Right.
And so we built the system going back 2.5 years ago. Jana Wagner, Lori Johnson, our Director of Program Services, and a lot of help of funders. We did that because we can't afford to fund everything ourselves all the time by ourselves. And knowing some weak points in demographics and the community assessments was looking at the opening there was to take the lead role in employment, and we started down that road. This year we will work with 3,800 people in employment services, and our placement rate's right around 48%.
3,800 people in 1 year?
3,800 people in 1 year.
Wow, and about half of them find work.
Yeah, and we place them, and then we track them over time, because we have special projects from Caterpillar Foundation and from United Way that's helped us grow into that program. So we do job coaching, resume building, computer classes, all down the hill at the Commons. We're getting ready to announce a big Google initiative later this winter, and looking at technology taking over the jobs, whether we like it or not, Steve, is that
don't have much choice. Every
job by 2030 will have technology embedded in it. And so what about those that aren't technology sound or technology literate? So it's us in Goodwill helping them get use for the technology that's going to be taking over the job, some more than others real quickly. And so we started down that road years ago, and I would say probably in this area we are number one in employment services when you look at the numbers that we work with. We have a lot of great community partners. Actually, one of the partners that won the business award last year was Illinois Department of Employment Security. They have been awesome partners to us. But if I named any more than that, I'd forget some, because we have not just Goodwill, and Goodwill needs jobs in our warehouse, in our system, at Shop Goodwill, drivers, whatever, on and on. But we have 500 business relationships with other companies looking for hiring people. And I think,
is that just in this area or nationally?
That's in this area.
500. Wow.
And so, and it's becoming more of a problem nationwide. A lot of jobs out there. A lot of jobs need filled. A lot of technology embedded in those jobs, but is trying to give people the up and getting into a job and hold a job, and stay in that job and be responsible and grow in that job is the best way. To stay and learn a trade and to grow their own pocketbooks and hourly wage is doing that.
So, Don, if someone, and maybe it's not someone who's actually listening, but someone else who knows of somebody who is in need of a job, in need of training, send them to Goodwill.
Send them to Goodwill. They can go, to our Goodwill Central Illinois website right down the hall. We can come into our office on War Memorial. They can call 682-1113. But we do the hiring events all the time and help a lot of people. But yeah, whether people want to know what's going on, we try to keep up to date on our website every week to the jobs and job postings that we do.
And that's a fascinating thing, because I think, as you mentioned earlier, and you want to keep everyone aware that you want all the clothing, that's very much appreciated. That's always going to be a hallmark, but that's not all it is. In other words, if somebody thinks, oh, I've got to clear out the closet and I'll give some to Goodwill, that's part of it. Yeah, but there's a lot more to it.
Yeah, a lot more to it when you look at our youth mentoring, which won a national award a couple of years ago, top notch. Employment services, I would say we rank number one in Central Illinois. And you look at veteran services, you see what we talked about earlier today. It's some world-class stuff going on, and those are big commitments by it. But one thing that people realize is when they don't, it's not just clothing, but we recycle paper, metal, coats, hats, purses, gloves. Just on and on and on. Aluminum, and even looking at how we grow that more to keep stuff out of landfill. So it's not just clothing; it's a lot of things we do. Bears, even stuffed bears. There's a market for that. Shoes are a biggie for us. It just goes on and on. Of all the things that we do.
Stuffed bears. Now, I hadn't thought of that, but there's really a lot of those in this world. and eventually, it's time to move the bears out of the kids' room or something. We should remind people. Well, I have a question for you, because it's veteran related, and we'll remind people about the 2 veterans events that are coming up here with Goodwill. But when you say homeless veterans, I think a lot of people have a hard time with that, because they think, here's somebody who went off, whatever they did, in support of the country, and now they don't have a home. How does that happen? Obviously, it's a very intricate thing, but is it a chronic problem? In other words, is it growing? How do you look at that problem of homeless veterans?
I don't think it's growing, Steve. I think it's actually shrinking when we look at the numbers to how many people in the system, because if we have an opening at the home, it used to be we would go to the controlled central database with continuum of care, which is run by Kevin Nolan at United Way. We've created a smart, wiser system in doing that. It used to be, 11, 12 veterans that you would bring in and look at to see where they're at, to still see if they needed help. But also that list has shrunk down to 1, 2, or 3 now.
Oh, good.
We're not really necessarily at war compared to several years ago. And I just think that, when people get done with the military, the training and some of the things they go through in training, as well as some of the things that some of these guys have seen in war, a lot of them have the PTSD and a lot of other ailments. We have a handful of guys living at the home in their 70s now that probably in our future is we'll have people that will pass away living at the home. A lot of those guys are from the Vietnam and even Korean type war. We even have some from the Desert Storm that came back with PTSD because of the training and so on. And we work with them on IDP plans. We try some of them actually work part-time, but some of them with the physical elements they have and mental elements, they will never work. So it's working on IDP plans and doing that. But I'd like to sit here today and think, honestly, that it will continue to shrink. But you never know. Well,
and thanks to Goodwill for addressing that issue. Let's remind people again, we've got the Goodwill's Reception of Honor, where you kind of honor local businesses and military individuals for their support of the veterans. That's going on just to Goodwill Commons, which is very familiar to those of us here at the Journal-Star because we drive by it every day on the Hill. A lot of you folks out in Peoria area are probably wondering, where the Journal-Star is located. Well, I tell them it's right beyond Goodwill. So that's the one way to get there. And then on Saturday, this is the 10th annual stand down for homeless veterans held at Dozer Park, and a big, as you said, 250 volunteers help you with that.
Oh, yeah.
So tremendous outpouring from the community to help the veterans. And Tom, we thank you for addressing all these things and kind of summarizing it. If somebody wants more information, I know those are websites abound. What's your recommendation for somebody who wants to find out a little bit more about services of Goodwill? You've run down quite a few. They
can go to Goodwill, PEO for Peoria, goodwillpeo.org. And you'll see a lot of website stuff there regarding stores and services and programs and employment. A lot of things we talked about today. They can dial the number 682-1113. I'll say it again, 682-1113, and just call and explain what they're looking for, and we can help them. Whether it's being employed by us, I mean, they're real quickly going to be good at directing those particular calls. But I always say this time of year, this is our busiest time of year in retail. The people who don't have their Halloween outfits, they should, one, donate to us at the donation door, which is needed, and go get their Halloween gear from us. You can do a whole Halloween outfit for $3 or $4 compared to regular retail, which is probably $40, $50, $60. And it's amazing. People donate Halloween outfits to us that wear them one time, and we get them. So that's great.
Well, and I guarantee you, and because I've done just what you said, looking for something, looking for ideas sometimes, what it is, whatever. But you invariably will find, oh, I need that shirt, or I need that jacket, or something. You weren't planning on it, but you get it when you're there. All right. Well, very good. Good advice from Don Johnson, who heads up is the CEO, I should say, of Goodwill here in Central Illinois. Don, thank you so much, and
thanks, Steve.
we'll get caught up again soon on what's going on at Goodwill. And I want to thank Matt Dayhoff at the controls, gets this out to all you folks. And we'll see you next time on Tarter Sauce.